The clouds part amid the chaos. The sound of swords echoes in the silence of the sky. Arise, the battle is not over. When darkness tries to extinguish hope, he appears. Michael, the warrior. Archangel. With his flaming sword and wings that illuminate the horizon, he not only confronts invisible enemies, but inspires men and women to discover the strength within themselves. Between epic battles and moments of compassion, his mission goes beyond war, to remind the world that faith is more powerful than any shadow, because when darkness threatens to reign, a voice echoes in the heart of humanity, "Do not fear, I fight for you." In the beginning, before time was reckoned by men, God created the heavens and formed his messengers of light. Among them, one shining light stood out, Michael. His name already carried an eternal mystery, Mikael, meaning who is like God. It was not just a name, but a calling, a living reminder that no being could equal the Creator. The Bible describes angels as ministering spirits, Hebrews 1:14. But Michael was elevated to a special position. He was seen as the prince of the heavenly host, a symbol of unshakable strength, pure justice, and perfect obedience. His essence reflected God's character, firm against injustice, compassionate toward the weak, and tireless in serving the divine will. Tradition says that when Michael appeared, his presence shone like the rising sun after a long night. Other angels looked upon him and saw not only power, but a quiet courage, something that inspired trust and reverence. He sought no personal glory, but rejoiced in reflecting the majesty of his Creator. It was clear from the beginning that Michael was destined to lead. Among millions of angels, his firm voice brought order, and his gaze inspired loyalty. He was shaped not for doubt, but for certainty, not for rebellion, but for the defense of truth. Thus was born the warrior of light, the protector of heaven and earth, the one who one day would rise up against the darkness to remind everyone of the eternal question, who is like God? Heaven was a place of perfect harmony. Every star shone like a note of divine melody, and the angels sang songs that echoed before the throne of the Most High. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. Isaiah 6:3. Nothing seemed to threaten that eternity of peace. Between rivers of light and celestial expanses, Michael stood firm, watching. He was guardian and leader, but at that time the sword rested silently, for there was no war. His eyes, however, saw further. There was a vigilance within him that never slept, an alertness to the slightest sign of disorder. It was in this perfect setting that something subtle began to emerge. Lucifer, the light-bearer, once adorned with glory and beauty, allowed vanity to penetrate his heart. The book of the prophet Ezekiel echoes this. You were perfect in your ways from the day you were created, until iniquity was found in you. Ezekiel 28:15. At first, they were just hidden thoughts, a glimmer of pride that no one noticed, but soon these sparks became flames. Lucifer began to sow doubt, to question the throne that ruled all. His words were seductive, cloaked in charm, and some angels began to listen. Michael saw this silent movement from afar. He didn't react hastily, but his stance became increasingly firm. While others were still celebrating peace, he sensed that an invisible war was already beginning in the heart of an angel who longed to be greater than God himself. Paradise still shone, but a shadow began to move across its borders. And Michael, the Prince of Light, stood silently prepared, ready to protect the harmony of heaven at any cost. Lucifer contemplated his beauty, his position, his influence among the heavenly hosts. Gradually, instead of exalting the one who had created him, he began to exalt himself. The radiance that once reflected glory to the Most High began to turn into pride. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom because of your splendor. Ezekiel 28:17. It was as if his own light blinded him. He no longer saw himself as a servant, but as someone worthy of worship. It was then that his secret thoughts began to take shape. He said in his heart, "I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit enthroned on the Mount of Assembly. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High." Isaiah 14:13-14. What began as quiet vanity became open ambition. Lucifer began to speak, to question, to sow doubt among the angels. His tone was seductive, shrouded in apparent reason. Why must we always bow? Weren't we also created with power? Don't we also deserve a throne? These words, laden with deception, began to penetrate the hearts of some. Angels who had once sung in perfect unity now listened to Lucifer and were seduced by his eloquence. He offered a vision of freedom, but concealed the poison of rebellion. Revelation describes his influence as so profound that his tail swept away a third of the stars of heaven. Revelation 12:4. These stars were the angels who, captivated by his charisma, fell into the trap of pride. Thus, a legion of rebels silently formed. Heaven still shone with peace, but beneath the surface a hidden movement grew, a conspiracy against the very throne of God. Lucifer, who had been created to reflect the light, now sought to be the light. He no longer wished to serve, he wished to rule. He no longer accepted obedience, he wanted to be worshipped. This was the beginning of Lucifer's rise, not to glory, but to his fall. His heart no longer belonged to the light, but to pride. And the harmony of heaven, for the first time, began to shatter. The silence that hung over heaven shattered like broken glass. God's throne remained untouched in majesty, but around it the hosts no longer sang songs of worship. They heard shouts, divided voices, the sound of a rising rebellion. Lucifer, now transformed into a dragon, as Revelation describes, stood proudly before the legions that followed him. His voice echoed through the heavenly expanses. "I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High." These words rang out like thunderclaps of disobedience. It was the trigger. Heaven, which had never known war, found itself on the verge of explosion in confrontation. Then Michael, the Prince of Hosts, advanced. His flaming sword flashed like lightning, piercing the darkness. Beside him, faithful angels, countless as stars, cried out in unison. His voice, firm and eternal, echoed like thunder. "Mikael, who is like God?" This cry was not just a declaration, it was a banner of fidelity, a call for courage that set the hearts of those who still wavered ablaze. The battle began. Lightning tore through the heavens. Thunder roared like war drums. Flaming swords clashed with a crash, generating flashes of light that illuminated the ends of eternity. Revelation testifies, and there was war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought. But they prevailed not. Neither was a place found for them any more in heaven. Revelation 12:7-8. It was a battle unlike any other. Lucifer's armies, driven by hatred and vanity, advanced furiously. But Michael and his angels, steadfast in obedience, fought with strength that came not from them, but from God himself. The clash between Michael and Lucifer was the climax of the battle. On one side, pride that sought to be worshipped. On the other, humility that reflected the glory of the Creator. The clash was so intense that the universe seemed to hold its breath. Lightning exploded, and each blow shook the pillars of heaven. Lucifer roared in fury, "I will take the throne. Heaven will be mine." But Michael, with a firm voice, replied, "Who is like God? There is no other." With a final blow, Michael raised his sword, and the light of justice pierced the heart of rebellion. Lucifer was toppled from his position. His beauty turned to darkness. His glory turned to shame. The fall was inevitable. The dragon and his angels, defeated, were cast into the depths. The sacred text declares, "The great dragon was cast out, that ancient serpent, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. He was cast out to the earth, and his angels were cast out with him." Revelation 12:9. When the dust of war had cleared, heaven shone with triumph. The faithful angels once again raised their songs, this time with voices marked by victory. "Now have come salvation and strength and the kingdom of our God and the power of his Christ." Revelation 12:10. Michael stood before the throne, not seeking personal glory, but surrendering the honor of victory to the Most High. His flaming sword still shone, an eternal reminder of the day obedience defeated pride, and all heaven was saved by the cry of a simple truth: who is like God? Heaven was at peace. The dragon and his angels had been cast into the depths, and divine order had been restored. But the battle fought in the heights did not end the war, it merely changed the scene. For the enemy's target, defeated and shamed, would now be God's most beloved creation, mankind. It was then that Michael received his new mission. The prince of the heavenly host, who had confronted Lucifer's pride, would now be known as the guardian of humanity. Not just a warrior of heaven, but a defender of life, faith, and hope for men on earth. Scripture presents him as the special protector of the chosen people. The prophet Daniel describes him this way: "And at that time Michael will stand up, the great prince who stands for the children of your people. There will be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time your people will be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book." Daniel 12:1. Michael didn't just watch from afar. He was the one who stood up in history's darkest hours, when hope seemed to vanish. In the wars that threatened Israel, in persecutions, in oppressions, his name was invoked as an invisible shield. The people knew, where human forces could not prevail, Michael, the heavenly prince, stood up in defense of God's children. But his mission went beyond one nation. As a messenger of hope, Michael became a sign that heaven had not abandoned earth. When darkness sought hearts, when fear spread, his figure shone as a living reminder that there are still those who fight for us, even amidst the invisible. His cry, "Who is like God?" now echoed not only as a victory in heaven, but as a call to humanity, reminding them that no force, no king, no enemy is greater than the Creator. He became the bridge between eternal glory and humanity's daily struggles, inspiring courage in times of despair. Thus, throughout the centuries, Michael was remembered not only as a warrior, but as an angel of comfort. His presence was described in moments of anguish, his strength felt in moments when the fight seemed lost. When the people cried out, it was as if Michael were there, sword in hand, to whisper, "Fear not, I fight for you." Michael's name runs through the pages of the Bible as a thread of hope and courage amidst the greatest spiritual struggles. In the book of Daniel, he is presented as one of the first heavenly princes, protector of God's people. During prophetic visions, Daniel hears Michael intervene in an invisible battle against evil forces acting upon the kingdoms of the earth. The heavenly messenger declares, "But Michael, one of the chief princes, came to help me." Daniel 10:13. Later, in chapter 12, he appears as a great defender in times of affliction. "And at that time, Michael will stand up, the great prince who stands for the children of your people. There will be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation even to that same time. And at that time, your people will be delivered, everyone who is found written in the book." Daniel 12:1. In these accounts, Michael appears not only as a warrior, but as a guarantor of divine protection. ensuring that even in the days of greatest tribulation, God's people would not be alone. Centuries later, in the brief but powerful letter of Jude, we find another striking scene involving the Archangel. The text shows Michael in direct confrontation with the enemy, disputing over the body of Moses. Scripture states, "But Michael the Archangel, when he contended with the devil and disputed about the body of Moses, dared not bring against him a railing accusation, but said, 'The Lord rebuke you.'" Jude 1:9. This passage reveals Michael's courage and humility. He does not shy away from confronting Satan, but does not trust in his own strength. He invokes the Lord's authority, remembering that victory never belongs to the creature, but to the Creator. Thus, at different moments in sacred history, Michael reveals himself as a liberator. In Daniel, he is the protector of the people of Israel, ensuring that the faithful would not be crushed by oppression. In Jude, he is the humble fighter who confronts Satan not with his own authority, but with that of the Lord. In Revelation, he is the final warrior who seals the dragon's defeat and confirms God's eternal victory. In each narrative, his figure stands as a sign of hope, strength, and fidelity. Whenever he appears, Michael brings with him the reminder that the battle has already been won not by pride, but by obedience, and that the cry echoes forever between heaven and earth. Who is like God? Over the centuries, the memory of Michael remained not only in the pages of Scripture, but also flourished in the living faith of people. In different eras and cultures, reports of apparitions attributed to the Archangel emerged as signs of hope. Many testified to his presence in times of war, plague, and pain, describing him as a light descending from heaven to bring help. He became known as the guide of souls, the one who accompanies the righteous in their passage from earthly life to eternity. In the Christian imagination, Michael is not only the warrior who defeats the dragon, but also the compassionate guardian who welcomes those who have departed in peace and protects those who still wander this world. Faithful throughout history have invoked his name in the face of persecution, disaster, and injustice. For many, Michael appeared not with sword in hand, but with tenderness and comfort, reminding them that even the weakest have defense before the throne of God. Therefore, ancient prayers call him the defender of those who cry out for mercy, the intercessor who lifts up the afflicted when the shadows of fear surround them. Even after millennia, Michael remains alive in the people's faith. To this day, his name is invoked in spiritual battles, in moments of prayer, and in rituals of faith. He is remembered in the words of the traditional prayer, "Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle," which resonates on the lips of millions around the world. Churches, mountains, and shrines rise in his honor as markers of a devotion that spans generations. From Mount Gargano in Italy to Mont Saint-Michel in France, pilgrims travel in search of the Archangel's presence. In Mexico, Brazil, and many other nations, entire communities find in him an active guardian, ever present in the fight against the forces that threaten faith and hope. In everyday life, families still turn to him for protection against evils seen and unseen. Spiritual warriors, simple men, women of faith, young people seeking direction, all find in Miguel not a distant being, but a companion on their journey who strengthens those who feel alone. When darkness threatens homes, when fear invades hearts, and when injustice seems to prevail, Michael is invoked as a powerful defender before God. It is to him that many turn in prayer, certain that their pleas pierce the heavens and arrive as battle cries against the forces of evil. Michael's intercession is not limited to individual protection. He is seen as the guardian of the church, the one who protects God's people from the onslaught of the enemy. In each generation, his figure stands as a reminder that the faithful do not fight alone. The traditional prayer, St. Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle, be our help against the wickedness and snares of the devil, continues to resonate as a humble request, yet filled with confidence in his power of intercession. However, Michael's mission doesn't end in the present. He also plays a fundamental role in the end times. The prophet Daniel already foretold, at that time Michael will stand up, the great prince who stands before your people, Daniel 12:1. This prophecy points to the last days, when there will be great tribulation. It is in this scenario that Michael will rise again, not only as a protector, but as a herald of the final victory. In Revelation now, his figure merges with the climax of history, the definitive defeat of the dragon and all who oppose God. Michael will be the leader of the heavenly armies that will pave the way for the glorious coming of Christ, when every knee will bow and every tongue confess that the Lord is King. His voice, which once echoed in heaven and earth, will become a cry of triumph before the entire universe. Thus, Michael continues to be the voice of eternity, comforting in the present and announcing the future. Today, he says to those who struggle in silence, "Fear not, I intercede for you." And at the end of time, his proclamation will be even more grandiose. Who is like God? Behold, the kingdom belongs to the Lord forever and ever.